Thank you very much, and good morning, ladies and gentlemen, on the call. I'm very happy to have you because if I came and you were not in, then there will be nobody to listen to me, and I don't take that for granted. Today we're going to talk about output and performance-based road contracts, or OPRC, or Ghana prefers to call it OPBRC, but it's the same. I mean, OPRC is not different from OP. Generally, we call it OPRC. Now, initially, I thought I was going to talk more about trunk road and primary roads, necessarily in Ghana and Liberia. But I also realized that there's another twist to it. So I've added a bit of network management feeder roads in Ghana. So just to give us perspective. And I hope that today we will be able to cover a lot because there's no way you can talk about OPRC in a day or two or a week because the different aspects that are different from the traditional contract. So much. But I'll try to give you sufficient insights so that when you read around, you can understand. And I gave you the references the other day. Today I'm going to recap and also show you, say some of them again. Some people ask me whether I'm in France. No, I'm in Liberia at the moment, but I went for a company called Sofrico, which is in France. And I'm actually working as a technical assistant to the Ministry of Public Works. Okay, right. So I'll do some recap and then talk about a few definitions. Then I'll also recap on the types of OPRCs. And it's very important to understand what we're talking about. So all OPRCs are not necessarily the same. The interventions are not necessarily the same. There's still maintenance, there's still rehabilitation and construction. The approach is different. Then I'll look at the road sector in Liberia and Ghana. Then I'll talk about typical performance measures because today we want to look at really what are people talking about. And we'll talk about payment issues, service level issues, design issues, and I'll try to do a cut and paste without getting any specific any particular contract because I know that some of the information may be sensitive, and that is why when I call for information in some places, people were reluctant to send them the information. Then I'll conclude by asking why I think Ghana and Liberia are doing OPRC, just as Rwanda and others, and why particularly it's very important for them. So to recap quickly, I'll say that performance-based contracts, and I said PRC is a typical performance-based contract and it's more widespread. In Africa, it used to be in Latin America for many, many years, so it's not new. And here we want the contractor to achieve performance standards or targets, which will be measured, monitoring and stuff, and not a supervision concept, monitoring and supervision. So he's monitoring the work and making sure that what the employer's requirements are being done. Then we also talk about measures of performance, where we define levels of service. And here we define it sometimes in terms of condition of the assets achieved, outcomes achieved on a particular type of maintenance, and the response times. Then I talked about design, build, maintain, operate, and transfer, but it could be design, build, and transfer, or any variation of it, depending on what the client wants, what's the maturity of the industry for maintenance, for design, and also the value of the contract. Because long-term commitment of government can be problematic if you have to live for 10 years, 12 years, can be problematic in Africa. So there are differentiates and variations of the same. The intent is still the same. And then we talk about payment renewal, reconstruction, rehabilitation. This is a term that you see almost everywhere. And then we talk about periodic maintenance, just as we know. And then routine maintenance is the same as we know. Then, particularly, we talk about this reference material, which you can download online. And if you don't have it and you want to. So we talk about network management. If the network is in a stable condition and you want to give out a section of the network, you say 200 kilometers, as you are over 200 kilometers, as you are seeing the feeder roads, and then or paved and then gravel road, and then contracting entity, not a contracting entity does some design or rehabilitation, and then also maintains it for some time and over. Then we talked about design build options, where you design, you build, sometimes you maintain, operate, and transfer. Or you design, you build, you do a little bit of maintenance and you transfer without operating. So, and then we have unpaid, which is when you have special quality as well. Then I also mentioned this one, which is very important, that between traditional contracts and OPRC, you will see that here we were only interested in efficiency, meeting our BOQ, but that is not a very efficient contract. So we are moving towards output-based contracts and then performance-based, where now the community outcomes are also very important. And that is the way we can prove whether we are meeting the sustainable goals, because we want people to enjoy the network and then using the road user satisfaction. Then we talked about the relationships where you have the traditional contract, and then you have EPRC, you have the that actually does a small percentage of what the supervision consultant is. But his work is very important, because if we are going to meet our performance standards, it's very important. Then let's see now from today's perspective. We are talking about two countries. One has 32 million people, and per capita GDP is, no, I think it's the GDP. Sorry, I wanted to put it per capita. I put this one, no problem. So it's GDP, not per capita GDP. So GDP is about 77 billion USD. And then, as the Minister of Roads and Highways, 3 road agencies, and DFR and DHA are implementing OPRC. Then we have about 65 road reported online. And then, as the network, percentage of good paved and unpaved, and not this thing, because I'm going to explain why. Then it has a national road fund that is over 20 years old. That's also important to show the level of development of the road industry. The local industry exists, but has low financial and technical capacity, sometimes suffering from delay in payments and therefore erratic payments, destroying part of the industry. Then the annual rainfall is a little over 1,000. It has a port, because ports bring head loads. Then it has well-developed consulting industry. Then the CD is not stable relative to the dollar, and that's very important, because in Liberia, the currency is US dollar is also national currency. So most contracts have a large percentage of USD, which does not fluctuate as much as the local one. Then talk about the government finance of roads, erratic, unreliable, sometimes they are not years. Axle load stations exist, but are reported overloading, and these are the famous years. Okay, I think I'm not doing badly. So let's look at some the portfolio of roads in Ghana for OPRC before we take a look at the Liberia. So in Ghana, from what I got from the Ghana Highway Authority, it's a summary. We have lot 1, lot 2, altogether about 162 kilometers. And this is how it works, both on surface treatment, and then Federal Roads is also doing a lot of roads with network management for this one, and then something to do with Paleyendi. You can confirm. I mean, let's got some information. This one here has a bit of paved, so it's not wholly paved. But this is how it stands. You see that this is typically the second one that I showed you for the feeder road. This is how it looks like. The roads that are under consideration, and the length, and the total length is about 214 kilometers. So you see that Ghana has a little bit more of roads that is doing OPRC to learn. And I would say it's learning because these have just been started and they are yet to learn the lessons so that we can adjust future OPRCs. That's very important for this kind of work. Now, Liberia. At the Ministry of Public Works, no road agency, OPRC is being implemented by the unit where I work, the Infrastructure Implementation Unit of the Ministry of Public Works. But it says everybody there works on contract and is financed by the work. So the network is not as much as Ghana. So the population itself is very small, a little over 5 million. Then we have a small paved network and then a lot of unpaved roads. But we have a lot of concrete roads in our cities. Our road fund is less than 5 years old, so it's very young. And there is virtually no local construction industry to maintain the road network. Annual rainfall, the least is twice what you find in Ghana. So a large part of the year, you can't do any works. Free ports that has a lot of heavy axle loads going towards Guinea and other landlocked countries. Sorry, to other landlocked countries. Then the local industry is not developed. USD as a country, government to pay erratic and unreliable payments if they have to pay. Then axle load stations, we don't have anyone, so you can imagine the degree that we will have if we have overloading. And then history of war, conflict, and everything. Now look at the OPRCs that we have. We have Labram Law 1, Law 2. So once this one is virtually done, and we're just trying to complete one or two things because of payment. This one started almost 12 years ago. Then this one, we're almost done as well, very close to finish. And we are doing roundabouts, which the government changed its mind. So this one is also not finished. We'll be finishing probably. Then we have all of them are so it's a little more detailed and complicated. Now I'll explain to you why that is. Then we have what we call, it's not full OPRC. This one has rehabilitation and construction, periodic maintenance, routine maintenance, periodic maintenance, and overlay. So this one. Then this one's design, build, and transfer. But we have learned from these ones and incorporated the output and service standards so that we can still benefit. And then we are starting some new ones. The retro, where we're doing 40 kilometers. And last week we did another 85 kilometers. We're going to go to tender in the next. So, what are these countries doing OPRC? And before I talk to you about the standard, I think that what countries have a large percentage of unpaved roads, and the condition of the roads are not, or they are not able to finance maintenance continuously. So you see that the network is having challenges and it is not resilient. So if you want consumers or the road user to have a very good riding surface and riding comfort, then the potential to drive the next service level high will become through APRC. Of course, the agency costs in terms of you build roads, then it gets deteriorated because of no maintenance. Then you have to spend more money to reconstruct it, so you lose money. So we know that if we're able to do this one very well, then we will save money or will not spend too much money. Then there's pressure on budget. So government doesn't have enough money to just bring all at once to do whole network of roads. So if you can do it in a way that staggers everything and then the point is staggered long enough time, then you can be sure that you're getting some good sense there. They need to do more with less to be effective. And then you want to be the cost, the contract price. When we sign the traditional contract, it has become a theoretical amount because when you do the contract, you see that there is rarely situation where you don't have variation orders and cost overruns and so many of those things. You want to control that with an APRC. And then the means to achieve fixed level of service is also about already. And then we want to shift risk to contractors where we can, because sometimes it's a business risk and therefore government or employer should not do that. And we want to realize the benefits of partnering between contracting entity and client for better results. The ability to contract contractor and contracting entity minimize life cycle cost through innovation. It's also there. And of course, we want innovation, innovation, innovation. And I talked to you about how these things are measured. I'm going to give you specifics in a moment. I looked at both countries, and I will say that for most of the report that I looked at, and of course, I didn't have time because I just got some of them just yesterday. I looked at the blue ones are all there, and then also texture depth is also there. So what we're trying to say is that these service level indicators are very important, and this is what we are using to measure when the contractor will be paid or when we will penalize him in the contract. Now, I also mentioned that payments are done based on service level, so that is why the monitoring consultant is there. And the service level can be defined usually in terms of usability of the road, the surface conditions, safety, roadside assistance, and so many other things. Now, let me say that, for example, the new roads that we are about to let out, what we have decided to do, and of course, we do that for the other ones as well. As soon as the contractor goes to site, he's supposed to make sure that the road is passable throughout the contract. So before he does any design, he needs to maintain the road, and the corridor is very, very bad corridor. When people get stuck, trucks get stuck, large crop get stuck. So one of the reasons why it is there is to make sure that as soon as he signs the contract and mobilizes to the site, they're going to check how he manages to make sure that nobody gets stuck. And then people will be doing, they will be doing. So if you have 6 months to finish the design, he will be still maintaining the road for people to get the benefits. Whereas in the other case, you have to wait for the road to finish. This time around, he doesn't have to finish the road before the benefit. Now, in terms of payment, this is a typical example. That gets 20% mobilization, and then gets paid as he does 5 kilometers intervals like that. So every 5 kilometers, the work can be assessed and paid for. A certain amount is paid. Now, in terms of management, you'll see that I got this from one of our contracts, and you see that when the contractor puts in an inspection report, there is service level that he has to meet, and then you check it, and then there is action taken. So everything is guided, and he needs to meet every one of these requirements. Otherwise, he can get penalized for penalized. I wanted to zoom in, but I think because I changed the view, it's not looking very well. But this is activity service level during rehabilitation, for example. Site clearance. It says the service level shall start the specification during site inspection of the project. Now, we say that for all our projects here, we do feasibility. Now, the feasibility will help you to define your requirements very well. You don't do feasibility. You leave everything to chance. And you are likely to have problems the initial teething stages of the contract because this whole thing is a learning for everybody, both consultants, employer, contractor, and contracting entity. So when you do a good feasibility, then he just does a review of it, and then the work can progress very fast. Now, typical maintenance measures for service level for maintenance. You see that the the contractor is supposed to do a certain amount of work, and then part of it will be assessed. And when we assess it, we regard as fair, good, very good, or excellent. On the basis of that, if the percentage that is stated in the contract is fulfilled, then he gets paid. Otherwise, he needs to do something about it. Then there are detailed methods of inspection for everything that is defined. And all these charts are part of the contract. So contractor, if he wants to do reference, he knows when to do the reference, what reference we are looking for, how it will be done, when the standard specifications and the consequences. And he needs to meet every one of them. So that's why I said that in this case, we are doing more of the technical asset management, not the traditional measurement stuff. Even though we measure, we know that when you do a certain quantity of work, you will get paid a certain amount of money. So our focus is the output and the outcome. What are we getting? And what is the job of the monitoring consultant? And of course, the client. And the client play quality assurance role because the monitoring consultant sometimes just behaves like a letterbox. When he gets a claim from the contractor, he just passes it on without reading the contract. That should not be the case. I mean, durability, we check things like flexion, we check WD every 50 meters, all that is done. Now, all this will be done probably during the maintenance phase. Then, at the end of it, for our first contract, the end of it, contractor was supposed to do an overlay. So you would do an FWD, determine the remaining life of each section, and then do that calculation and then tell us which sections have to be overlaid with what, so that the roads can last 20 years. And here we are designing to last for 20 years. So far, our first project is more than 10 years old, no pothole all the way, about 175 kilometers, no pothole. It's working beautifully. My time is going, so I need to go fast because I want to show you something on Ghana as well. All this is Liberia information. Now, I said to you that we learned about risk and its management. And I said that when you do performance contract, you shift risk to the contractor as much as possible. So this is a typical risk matrix. We learned about that the other day, where the employer is not the contractor, and then it describes who is best able to take the risk and how will things be assessed or measured and to allocate. And this is a very important part of the contract. Because everybody knows to know who is better able to take which risk and how will that be determined in the long run. Now, let me also say that when there is a dispute, we manage to convince the World Bank within big principles and procedures that one man board what FedEx requests for, but it's not using trade, and it's expensive both to conduct for because it's a linear
these things usually
not a complicated project. It's not like a dam or power where you need several electrical, mechanical, everybody. For that project, you need more people. But for several projects like we know so much about roads already. So you don't need 3 people to spend money doing that. So I try to do a bit of comparison based on the understanding of countries, and then where I think that they are doing OPM. So, for example, in Ghana, it is reported frequently that roads don't last. Frequent payments, we build them, they don't last. Contractors are doing shoddy job. So it's like OPRCNC. Here, the road didn't exist. And so there's nothing like shoddy job. The road didn't exist. And government spend a lot of money from donors. And the donors want them to build the network. And therefore, let's have a road of now maturity of the network in terms of ability to handle changes in assets. And I mean, I think both countries, Ghana did well in the past. In recent times, you see this road fund is down. It's not able to pay for a lot of things. It's doing a lot of construction, but maintenance-wise, it's very low. So it's not too different from Nigeria. Knowledge of OPRC, I'll say that is very low because when I started teaching OPRC, master students in tech, a couple of years, and these things were not discussed. So I say it is low. So they know about road network development, but not about OPRC and the technicalities. And therefore, more has to be learned. Then here, the knowledge was low. But as you can see, with the support of the World Bank, we are getting all the knowledge in, and then we are also advancing forward. So there's a lot that is happening here. And therefore, I'll say that the implementation support from the bank through consultant and the bank itself, what is happening, which is very good. History of asset management. I would say Ghana is fair above Liberia, which is poor, and then traffic control and overloading. In both cases, this one doesn't have way bridges. This one has way bridges, but even the Minister of Roads and Highways says it's not working. Then, but let me say that for PRC to work, it's very difficult to get contractors to be interested because if you want international contractors, the value of the job is not a certain quantity amount. They are not interested. Okay, I think I've talked about this already. So this is actually coming from what is happening in the Ghana road sector with the feeder network management, 5-year contract, and this is how contractor get paid, and everything is specified. I'll send it to you. You can read it. And the risk management, so it's a different risk: employer risk, employer's risk, or entities risk, and we have also shared risk, the risk that will be shared. I think my time is up, and I want to allow you some time to ask questions. Thank you.